All right, so as I'm edging my corners out, I'm going to take a wet paper towel and smooth the edges of where my lid sits. Remember, I said you want to think about what it's going to feel like if you drank out of it. And smoothing that edge is going with a wet paper towel is really going to help to smooth those edges. Same thing on your lid, just a little bit of pressure on the edges and clean those sides. And you could use, if yours is really uneven, like this is, if you have a paper clip, you could use a paper clip and kind of cut that down a little bit and shave that off if you don't have the ribbon tool. And I'm just going to cut that down. Remember, you still need to keep that 45-degree angle on the edge. And you could use a sponge instead of a wet paper towel as well. Usually in pottery land, we use a sponge to smooth those edges. All right, so that would be what I would call finished in terms of cleaning up the edges of my lid and my pot. And I hope that by now that you have your inside all smooth as well. So now let's talk about what are we going to do for our surface design. So surface design is something where you want to think about, are you going to work additively or subtractively? And I'm going to use a different piece to show you the examples of that. As I'm showing you, I want to show you how I store my lid in between creating. I'm just going to put a paper towel in between and put my lid on top. And I want to make sure that I wrap this up. So working additively and subtractively is a matter of choice. Remember that we are working with textures. So I'm just going to take a piece of clay and make an example of the side of my pot by patting out a slab. So let's think about what kinds of textures we want and what we're trying to create. You have your clay tools available to you, and I really try to give you different pieces so that you have some variety of options. If you want to work subtractively, that means that you're taking clay away, or that you are pushing into the clay to take clay away. You can use this tool to help you build your pattern. This will make kind of like square pieces that you can indenture in. Again, with the paper clip are your wire tool. Wire tools are used to cut pieces away. And depending on the width of your wire tool, depends on what kind of piece what kind of design you'll get and what kind of cut you'll get. So you may decide to carve away pieces subtractively. You can use a regular pencil and draw into your clay. If you have just a regular wooden pencil, I'm going to use this ink pen. And you can use that for finer lines. And all of these little crispy critters, I'll show you how to get rid of those a little bit later. But with a pencil, you can draw into your pieces. You can use the square end of the rib tool for lots of different things. So you might think about what kind of pattern you planned with and how you're going to create and build in a pattern on your pieces. So subtractive means that you're going to take away. If you're building additively, I'm going to flip this over. That means that you're going to apply clay onto your surface. And to apply clay onto the surface, you can either pinch shapes with your hand, or you can make a coil like what I just did and roll yourself out a coil. And you can use this to build a design on top of your piece. So if you're going to add clay on, remember to slip and score. So I'm going to use some slip and score where my coils are going to go first. And then I'm going to apply the design with the coil second. And you want to think about the thickness of your coils. The more delicate your coils are, the cleaner and more delicate your piece will be. And if you're using additive designs, then you're really going to want to think about the thickness of your piece. So you might want to cut away some of the thickness on the inside as well, so that your pieces don't become too heavy. So after you add pieces on to make your pattern or your design, then you're going to want to join by taking your clay tools and joining those pieces on in the background. So you have to slip and score very, very well when you're working additively, and you need to make sure that you're joining your pieces together when you're working additively. If you can pull your piece off afterwards really pretty easily, then that means it's going to fall off later. So I'm just going to use a clay tool and all the way around join these pieces on. You can build designs in your fingers, like let's say that you want to build, like, I don't know, a flower petal or a leaf inside of your hand, and then add that on. Of course you can. So we're just going to make it in our hands. And then slip and score where it needs to go. And then put that on. And it's okay if things come off. They just need to be joined well. So I'm going to slip. I've scored. And now I'm going to join all the way around using my finger and my clay tool. So there's an example of things that you can do, whether working additively or subtractively. Think about the design pattern that you have on your project planning pieces and how you are going to achieve what you are wanting in your plans. Do you want pieces that come out at you in space? Do you want your textures to go into your piece? What is it that you're trying to achieve? Remember that the object here is to have textures as well as good surface design being created with patterns. And we're going to add those on to our pieces. And when I show you mine again, I'll have all of my patterns added on.